Powered to lead. Wired to learn.
Hello, and welcome to PowerTest 26. We're in Nashville at the NETA show, the International Electrical Testing Association. And I'm here, Ellen Parson, the Editor-in-Chief of EC&M. And I'm here interviewing subject matter experts from NETA accredited companies, also guest speakers, subject matter experts like Terry Becker. We have him with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Ellen.
We attend a lot of these technical presentations, and you just gave one on electrical maintenance program development. So that's something all of our audience is very interested in, as well as the attendees here. So we wanted to go over that. Terry is an electrical safety specialist with a management consultant with Terry Becker Electrical Safety Consultants, Consulting, Inc. And we're just going to discuss basically key takeaways from your presentation, what you think the industry really needs to focus on right now as it comes to, safety and NFPA 70B. We're going to talk about some other standards as well. So maybe just introduce yourself briefly in your background and how, you work with the attendees here to, teach them about safety.
Thanks, Ellen, and I really appreciate you interviewing me today for inclusion on this video series that you keep doing.
Yeah.
And I bring something that's interesting to the NETA PowerTest conference is I'm from Canada, and there is Canadian companies that are accredited, right? And again, with respect to this topic of electrical maintenance programs, we have an equivalent standard in Canada called CSA Z463 Maintenance of Electrical Systems Standard, and it's new. It was first brought out as a guideline in 2013. We made it a standard in 2018, and it was updated in 2024. And then when you look at NFPA 70B, it first published in 1973 as a recommended practice. And it's only in 2023 that it became a standard. And then 70B becoming a standard, it changed things.
Yes. It
changed things in industry with electrical equipment owners and companies that do maintenance for those owners, and also 70B. And fortunately for owners, it got some OSHA attention down here, right? Because the context of 70B changed by saying we need to focus on maintenance for safety as the number one priority. What?
Yeah.
Wasn't the number one priority profitability for maintenance so we can make money? Well, that is one of the consequences of failures that's been a priority for, electrical owners. But 70B now says maintenance for safety, and it prescribes specific maintenance now for safety. It prescribes it. Now, 70B is not adopted into law, right? But OSHA's now paying attention.
Wow.
So, and I bring that perspective from Canada and the U.S. and my involvement, and tech committee members for the standards in Canada, Z462, Z463, and then attending conferences like this. And then I also, as I said in my presentation, that companies in the U.S. should look to standards in Canada and vice versa.
Okay. Because
70B in its new edition as a standard, right? It's lacking content that we actually have in Z463.
Okay. And more people are starting to do that. So have you seen, or you're trying to educate them on that?
Down here, I'm recommending that U.S. companies look to our standards in Canada, but in Canada, we need to look to, 70B. There's a natural synergistic relationship between our two countries in safety now, and in maintenance, and in occupational health and safety regulations actually as well, right?
Okay. Well, so for implementing this, like now that it is a standard, is that coming more from the NETA accredited members angle or from the clients themselves or the customers? Or is it a combination of both of how this gets enforced? It's not really the right word.
That's a good question. The way that you set it up is that there's an inherent responsibility of the electrical equipment owner.
Yeah, and where does that come from?
They carry the liability. Not the the NETA accredited company or an electrical contractor. So ultimately the owner, which without 70B becoming a standard, the owner wasn't really paying attention to it.
That's right.
So now they are, because it's prescriptive and it got attention with OSHA. So the owner now has a better tool to develop an electrical maintenance program. And the companies that are NETA accredited, they've always been servicing the client.
Yeah.
And the client may have asked them for recommendations, but I told everybody attending my presentation that you're going to get a more educated client now.
Okay.
Right? Because now they're going to go to 70B and they're going to be more prescriptive in their ask, especially when they bid out electrical equipment maintenance, because now they have a document that they didn't have before.
And now you have a new document too. You said there's a new update to the NETA. Well, they've got a lot of books here. Let's explain what all this means.
I've got 70B, right? I've got Z463, right?
Okay.
And then I've got 70E, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I've got Z462, right? Sorry.
So the safety,
And
maintenance.
then I have the older MTS because I bought the new one as a PDF, but this just published in 2023. So my presentation was that the owner now has 70B for the US, right? That's fundamentally, totally different from the 2019 edition. And it's going to tell them more about what they will prescribe to the contractor.
Okay.
So my presentation this morning was to the contractors and vendors and talking like I'm the owner.
Okay.
And I said, you're going to get more of an ask to deliver more explicitly, right, to that RFP that's going to go out with the information from this standard that wasn't in here before.
And was that new to them, or are they aware of that? Are they seeing that coming already, or have they experienced it yet?
See, that's new to them because as an owner, I might, phone you and you're representative, you need a credit company, and I'm going, I need transform maintenance, and that's the only thing I asked for.
Yeah. Now
I'm going to say I need transform maintenance as per chapter X in 70B because that's now more prescriptively in here. And I say chapter X because I don't have all the chapters memorized, but there's a chapter in here now that provides detailed inspection and test procedures that wasn't represented that way in the 2019 70B. So now the client's going to say, here, I need you to do maintenance, and now I want you to do this complete inspection and test procedure. Whereas before, they were just asked, do transformer maintenance for me.
So it's an opportunity, but also a challenge.
Well, it's an opportunity for them, but it also holds them more accountable and puts the client in more control of the ask and the cost related to the ask, which is they want you to implement an inspection and test procedure that they determine the maintenance interval. Whereas previously, they might have even asked you, what maintenance interval do I need to do maintenance on my transformers?
Wow, okay.
So a more educated client, there's a pro and con to that.
Yeah.
And as a NETA accredited company, I told them they're going to have to be better prepared for that ask.
Definitely.
But in turn, it's an opportunity then to say, hey, we got some education about inspection and test procedures in what's in 70B based on the ANSI NETA MTS. So I tell contractors that getting more knowledge about and this makes sense in general, about what the client's needs are, and being in a position to answer questions, maybe they're going to embed you in what I framed as the electrical maintenance committee, right? So we should have an electrical maintenance committee. That's what I recommend. And follow a project execution plan to review what we're currently doing for electrical equipment maintenance. So maybe we have what we think's an EMP. But 70B says, well, here's some more information now, and you need to assess that. But I bring in the subject matter expert from your company now. I said, so now's an opportunity. We can help you build EMP. Let us embed some of our subject matter experts from our NETA accredited company on your electrical maintenance committee.
But there's so much more to it now. And you described in your presentation, you talked about the EMP as a management system, not just a maintenance schedule. Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
So when you said maintenance schedule, maybe I just know that, I hire the NETA accredited company every 5 years and do the work on my transformers, right? No. Now the EMP is this formal document with a structured framework and table of contents. And I frame it against an electrical safety program framework and table of contents for several reasons, because there's a natural structure of the framework and table of contents of a safety management system, and the same applies to an asset management system. All right. So we want to build an asset management system and put more formality around a risk assessment procedure to determine the maintenance strategies, the inspection and test procedure that we want against the strategy, right? And then determining the maintenance interval. So 70B puts more formality around that. But I presented this morning that CSA Z463, Canada's maintenance of electrical system standard, has more content on the risk assessment procedure that should be part of the EMP, the formal EMP.
Right. Now you did, and you talk about the likelihood of failure, which also ties in with that. So how do organizations, how should they apply that methodology when they're trying to determine their maintenance strategy? There's so much more to it than there was years ago when it wasn't a standard. And now, historically, do they have that data even to look at what they were doing before now has changed?
Okay, so that's pretty of a loaded question, and you can see my answers are going to go back before I go ahead, right? So historically, electrical equipment owners, and it's large industrials, large institutionals that are really going to be focused on making sure they have reviewed their electrical equipment assets and made some decisions on maintenance strategies. And so this isn't necessarily something new, but 70B sets off, did they do it correctly, right? Or with a documented process, a risk assessment procedure to compare consequence of failure to likelihood of failure, and using those words and that structure and putting definition behind consequence of failure. And in my presentation, I outlined 9 consequences of electrical equipment failure. But what happened with 70B, it pushed safety up to the number 1 consequence of failure. What do you mean number 1? 70B did not have maintenance for safety prescribed. And that's the OSHA link, because there's a direct link between abnormal arcing fault likelihood, right, first, and if it occurs, the incident energy calculated and electrical protective device maintenance. Now, there always was, but 70B now goes, you shall do things to predict and control the abnormal arcing fault. It prescribes infrared testing now. It didn't prescribe it previously. It was at your discretion.
Right.
So that's one aspect of 70B. It prescribes IR, but then it says you shall do maintenance on electric protective devices because of the direct link to when the abnormal arcing fault occurs, the resulting incident energy that's on an equipment label.
Wow. Okay.
And so that was there before, but now it's formal in a standard, and then the regulator.
So more people are paying attention.
And latch onto a standard rather than, well, Ellen said we should do it, and I respect Ellen and her advice to me as the owner, but now 70B through Ellen says, oh, what, it's in here? Oh, they added that? It's prescribed?
And that's through all the, are you seeing any differences with what market you're in, what vertical market, whether it's industrial or commercial, like all the different
So that's
types,
a good question too.
How is that being, is there a difference or it's just across the board?
So now we add in the consequence for failure aspect that was always there. Right. So for profit companies are for profit. So they did electrical equipment maintenance to maintain uptime and have predictable breakdowns so you can maintain the delivery of your product. Now, some of that was essential services, power generation, hospitals, airports,
data centers,
wastewater and water treatment.
Well, is that even?
And data centers, although we say that, are they an essential service now? Well, in reality, I would agree that what you just said is true because those data centers warehouse our health data, our banking data, our business data. So now data centers can be added to critical systems. So then what's not critical? Well, a warehouse, how critical is the electrical equipment in a warehouse? Well, they've got to meet deadlines to get product in and out. So consequence of failure, and I presented 9 different prioritization criteria. Maintenance for safety is at the top, but then OSHA, now focusing on it. Something else is the insurance requirements. So large industrials also have insurance requirements imposed upon them that aren't necessarily imposed on commercial companies or institutional companies. Like a large university campus. Are they going to have an insurance company imposing things on them? Probably not.
Right.
Now, these were drivers that were there before, but guess what? The insurance company now will say, "Hey, what happened with 70B?" Right? And insurance liability is significant. It always has been. And what I'm seeing now, and I've had a couple examples of this.
That's such a good point.
I've worked with companies, and they've said, "Hey, we just had an insurance audit." And they said, "Where's your electrical maintenance program?" And they didn't have one. They had stuff. They had stuff, but it wasn't focused in a structured electrical maintenance program.
Wow, such a good point. Yeah. Where are you seeing the most gaps? I did want to go over that, and you talked about in your presentation when you audit an organization, you go in and they believe they're already doing their maintenance correctly. Like, where do you see the most gaps when you are trying to teach them how to do this?
So one of the risks with large industrial companies that are enterprise-wide, right, which means they've got assets not only in the U.S., Canada, maybe even globally, right? So I'm going to start with that lead in that the corporation will let these large, because they're large, facilities, right? They've let them diverge, right? And that's liability, right? So when I come in, what are you doing for maintenance? Well, this is what we're doing. Yeah, but you told me you have 30 other facilities. What are they doing? And then the proponent I'm talking to goes, I don't know. So I think that 70B can be a catalyst for large corporations, right, that have enterprise-wide facilities across multiple U.S. states, Canada, U.S., and globally, to use this as a focal point to say, are we consistently, managing our electrical equipment assets? Have we done a formal risk assessment procedure? Well, we did one 20 years ago.
And what is the comment? How often do you do this now? What do you recommend? Is it?
So in my presentation, I talked about a plan, do, check, act philosophy.
Yes. Right. Yes.
And so the big step change on the do was this published.
Okay.
So if I'm the electrical maintenance manager for, widget global manufacturer, hopefully I found out about that. And then I assessed the liability to organization.
Yeah.
Right. And then basically got management approval. And I talked about executing this as a project now.
Yeah.
So the needs assessment is risk went up because oversight's going to increase by the regulator, the insurance company, or,
Definitely.
So then what do I do about it? I talked about that in the presentation. Risk-based decisions. Not that risk-based decisions weren't made before for electrical equipment asset maintenance, but now you need to have some demonstrated documentation. So I see pieces of documents, but they're not glued together under a formal asset management system. Or the same thing with electrical safety. I see companies that have got training and bought PP and did a study, but there's no electrical safety program to bring it together to make it sustainable and measurable in a management system, documentation
that
system.
Makes sense. So the relationship between those two things, the maintenance program and the safety protocol. So
structurally the same. But I see bits and pieces scattered. Under a management system, you bring them together, and it'll put the owner in more control.
Great.
Right? The control of the insurance company showing up, say, we're auditing you.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go, wow, geez, it sounds like you're not high risk, so your premium is going to go down. We're going to get a premium rebate? See, so that's what this type of document, EMP, specific to the insurance company. With other examples.
Wow. Okay.
But you're going to get rid of that insurance risk. And can our premium go down? It's never gone down.
Right.
It could go down, I think, depending on what your asset, your overall facility asset's doing, and the role of the electrical assets. And then the insurance company goes in, wow, you're low risk for us. We're going to leave you alone. In fact, we're not going to audit you for another 5 years. But that other guy over there, we're going to audit them every year until they react and demonstrate that they're managing your risk, and then their premium's going to go up. Yours went down.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these were considerations, but now 70B is a stimulus for the owner to do a better job of insurance. Insurance companies have electrical equipment maintenance standards publicly available. I'm not going to quote the name of the company, but it's one that I've been exposed to through a client that does work globally. And you'd be amazed if you haven't checked. If you're a large industrial, right? Go to your insurance company's website and look under electrical equipment maintenance standards, and you'd be surprised what you see, right? And then they're prescribing that to you. Now you can say, well, we use this, and we've increased our oversight on our EMP, and now we need you to give us a premium rebate because we're, that's proactive better than reactive.
Yes,
right?
always.
So insurance companies, now the regulator, OSHA, I think that OSHA and an OSHA, officer may be incentive now when they come in to do an incident investigation. It's a fatality, like an electrocution, which is more likely than an arc flash fatality. But even an arc flash fatality, very rare. Right. Once every 1 to 2 years in the U.S. I think OSHA now, if they didn't ask before, now they're going to ask, did you do electrical equipment maintenance?
Absolutely.
And was it the root cause failure point was the lack of maintenance, and the electric protective device didn't open to its predicted time current curve characteristics? And they're going to go, did you know about this? Right? Like I tell people that standards, when they're prescriptive, the regulator can apply them. When they're a recommended practice, the regulator can't apply it. Exactly. So OSHA, 70B going to standard, OSHA can bring it in now. Okay. They might have said, it's a recommended practice, but it's not the same. So it's not the same context for the owner.
Okay. So Terry, you talked about, how now the customer, the client, the owner oftentimes is more educated. And so what they're expecting is more intense and what they're expecting to get. So how does the output of what then the NETA companies or our audience would give them, how does that change and what they're expecting to get from an output standpoint?
So again, we talked about quite a few things, and this one's actually a good add to what we've been talking about is NFPA 70B and CSA Z463 for Canada don't give you the maintenance test results.
Okay.
They give you the inspection and test procedure. So it's a gap. And I don't think you'll see the test results tables get embedded in 70B or Z463 because they're actually in the ANSI NETA MTS. So that's where the role of the MTS doesn't go away. It was always there because the NETA accredited company, it followed the inspection and test procedures in the ANSI NETA MTS. And then they used the test results tables generically in MTS to advise their client when they issued a report, right? That we did this test. Here's our data sheet of the test results. And we garnered pass fail or some level of health, right? Against those test result tables. Plus, electrical equipment manufacturers will also potentially provide some guidance, right, as well. But generically, 70B and Z463 have the ANSI NETA MTS in the middle for the test results, or what I call the tools that the ANSI NETA accredited company will use to tell their client in a documented report. So when I use an acronym in the presentation, IC TOD, all right? So ultimately, we want to inspect, clean, right? IC TOD test, mechanical electrical testing, operate, and then the D at the end, document the test results in a formal report to say pass, fail, or we're trending, and we recommend that we go in and do that enhanced maintenance 1 month tomorrow, or we can delay it, right? And that's what, some of the maintenance testing already did, like infrared, right? So again, these standards all work together, right? So 70B does not replace the ANSI NETA MTS. But the improvements in 70B as a standard are complementary and put the owner more in control. We want you to do these inspection and test procedures. IC TOD, and now where's this document that you always gave us? The client's going to be more educated. And there's a pro and con to that, right? I like it because the client should be in more control, right? But the client doesn't necessarily have, an electrical engineer. They may have an electrical technologist or an electrician in a maintenance management role or supervision role. 70B is going to give them a lot more control and power to make sure they ask and they do have more of an understanding of what they're receiving. Right.
Well, thanks for clarifying that, and definitely remember that acronym. That's important.
IC TOD.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Terry. It's always great to talk to you. You've written articles for EC&M. Great subject matter expert. Thanks for sharing all that knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. So I think that's a good place to wrap things up for today. Thanks for joining us. And we'll have more coming from PowerTest 26 here in Nashville, hosted by NETA, International Electrical Testing Association.
Thanks so much. Thanks, EC&M.
Okay.